Meditation is a way which we use to confirm most things which go beyond what we can prove by scientific methods. Okay? But in order to be able to meditate well enough to be able to use it as a platform to prove things, then your meditation does need to be very robust indeed. Your mind does need to be very still indeed. Just like a camera, if you're going to take a picture down a microscope, then the camera has to be held very, very still in order to get a clear picture. And it's the same thing with the mind. In order for the mind to be able to have an objective view of realities beyond what the eye can see, then you do need to have a mind which is very, very still. And sometimes it takes years to train your mind to such a point. A lot of you come from different backgrounds. Some of you come from Western backgrounds. Some come from Thai backgrounds but are more capable in English. And in fact, I'm sure these backgrounds lead you to have a different sort of difficulties when you are looking at Buddhist concepts. On one hand, Westerners tend to feel that Buddhism is very different from the sort of interpretations which other religions give. For example, in the West, often we say that Buddhism is not even a religion at all. Why? Because it doesn't involve a belief system. Or doesn't it? Can you explain everything in Buddhism without having to have any sort of belief? Do we have nothing like faith in Buddhism? In fact, it's not completely true. Also, we have elements of faith in Buddhism. But there are sorts of steps of faith, which I just described a little bit earlier, where you back up your faith by your own spiritual research until you have confidence that you've understood something correctly. So we do have faith also in Buddhism. It's not that we don't have it. So would you use this to qualify Buddhism as a religion or not? Some people say Buddhism is just a lifestyle. Nothing more than that. But again, it depends what part of Buddhism you look at. You can belong to another religion, but practice Buddhism quite happily. You think that's true? I even heard one temple go as far as to say, "We welcome Buddhists of all religions." That's quite a daring statement. So it's almost as if Buddhism doesn't seem to have any common ground with religions at all. It has no conflict. If you're in Thailand, you often hear the words, "All religions are the same. They all teach people to be good." Think that's true? And then you get some religions saying that to kill people from belonging to other religions was a way to go to heaven. And certainly Buddhism doesn't have teachings like that. So again, there are sometimes some misunderstandings concerning exactly what Buddhism is like. And it's for this reason I'd like you to look in your notes where you see a little questionnaire, standpoints in your handout. And it's got a series of 14 questions. Not questions, but really they are statements which you should try to separate out into those which are representing Buddhism or monotheistic religions like Christianity, Islam, or Judaism. Hinduism is also included in this. Well, it's not monotheistic, is it? Let's just take the three anyway. And humanism. You all know what humanism is? Humanism. Humanism is a sort of lifestyle where you believe that nothing exists beyond what you can see with your eyes. And when you die, then that's the end, okay? As for monotheism, of course, it's based on some belief in a God, some of the statements are shared between one or more of these categories, in which case you can put them in the intersecting parts of the circle. Some may be shared by all. See if you can fit them into the right category. So you can start ahead of me and I'll gradually catch up with you. Sin and guilt are not constructive emotions. Even if you have done something wrong, you should start afresh and take better responsibility for your own life. Which traditions do you think this is representative of? Sorry? Buddhism? Humanism. Humanism. How about Buddhism? Buddhism, does it like guilt or not? And do you have to be guilty about it?
You talk about shame of doing that stuff.
Shame means that you shouldn't do it in the first place. You're so ashamed of it, then you wouldn't do it in the first place. But guilt is normally, it means that you feel negative about it after you've already done it. And in Christianity, guilt is something which they work a lot on. In Buddhism and in humanism, we don't support people to feel guilty. It's better that people put the past aside if they've got something they feel bad about and start again. And never think back to the bad things which they've done in the past. Otherwise, the bad things which they've done in the past will only send more negativity into their present. It doesn't mean that we are shameless about our past, but it means that we give ourselves a new chance. We start afresh. Okay? So number one would be included in both humanism and in Buddhism. Number two, science is the most trustworthy tool to determine what is true. Arbitrary faith, authority, revelations, and altered states of consciousness are at best a useful source of ideas to give us new ways of looking at the world. Humanism. Any others? No. Number three, skepticism has its place. There are times when questioning is useful and times when it can be beneficial to give things the benefit of the doubt. Buddhism. Yeah, humanists are usually very skeptical about everything. So they certainly like skepticism, okay? In Buddhism, we've got this sort of dichotomy between times when it's useful to use what we call the Buddhist teaching, where he says you should not believe things because of hearsay. You should not. You remember what sutta it is? Well, if you think of it, then tell me, okay? I can't remember it for the moment. This is quoted a lot, okay? And normally it's not translated in a very good way, and this makes a lot of Western Buddhists very skeptical about everything. Anything they don't have immediate proof of, then they discard it. So you get a lot of people in the not believing in Japan category because of this sutta, okay? But in fact, what the sutta is trying to tell us is that in the absence of anything more trustworthy, then you should be skeptical of things. But if your teacher advises you strongly to try something anyway, then you should take that advice on the benefit of the doubt and give it a good and a worthy try before discarding it. Okay? So it's not that you should be a complete skeptic if you're a Buddhist, but if you trust in your teacher and your teacher gives you some advice, even though it may not be easy to accept it in the beginning, but you should try it anyway. At least give it a fair trial. And in that way, you can learn from things even though they might not make sense to you in the beginning. For example, there was a nun who, instead of being sent to meditate, she was sent away to polish what we call gaton, which are like spitoons made of chrome. You know what a spittoon is? In the olden days, people used to eat food and they used to spit out the remnants into a certain sort of basket or container called a spittoon, okay? And in Thailand, these used to be made of chrome. And instead of being allowed to meditate, she was sent off unwillingly to polish these spittoons. You know, instead of being able to do the nice meditation quietly, she had to do the menial work. And she didn't understand why she had been sent to do this by her teacher. But later, as she was polishing the spittoons, as they became more shiny, they reminded her of the brightness inside her. And as a result of that, she in fact attained a spiritual attainment while she was doing the polishing, which maybe she would never have done if she had been just meditating. So although she didn't understand why she had been asked to do this by her teacher, but in the end, later she realized the reason why. Okay, so sometimes it's useful to doubt things, but if you trust in your teacher, then you should give things a fair trial. Okay? So Buddhism also believes in the benefit of the doubt, and humanism probably does as well. There's no compelling evidence for the existence of gods, ghosts, heaven and hell, communicating with the dead through mediums, or any other supramundane phenomenon. Humanism, not Christianity, I shouldn't think, and not Buddhism. The theory of evolution presents a serious threat to our fundamental beliefs. Buddhism? You think evolution is at odds with Buddhism? Yeah? Why?
The Aganya Sutra presents a very different view of evolution to modern science. Much longer.
Well, we look at that more tomorrow, okay? But for the church, evolution is a serious problem, much more than for Buddhism, where it's simply a question of what interpretation you have. Because Buddhism isn't founded upon the necessity to believe in some sort of evolution story. But for Christianity, if you don't believe in creation, and if you don't believe that God created the world, you have a big problem for your faith. It's like the cornerstone of your faith is being destroyed. So evolution set itself up as an arch enemy for Christianity from its earliest days. But for Buddhism, it doesn't matter what you believe in evolution, whether you believe in it or what you believe about it, you can still do the practice. Okay? As for humanism, they're not interested in these sort of questions anyway. So they don't find that evolution is a serious threat. Buddhism, we don't find it's a serious threat. But later on in the course, we'll compare about how evolution explains things and what is more important to Buddhism.